Good morning, chassos and fans of the Talvar. We're going to do a little stream that I wanted to do, which came from a bit of coaching that I was doing with one of my longtime patrons, Storm. And we were getting into some of like that, like you can see from the board in front of me that like when we're coaching, we fucking get into it. Like there is no stone unturned. But there was something that came up through the process of working out like, you know, deployment and turns and all that sort of stuff that I thought would be really, really helpful for the Tau community because I haven't seen a ton of people talking about it. And it might not be something that is like naturally something that a newer player or somebody finding their feet or even somebody who's like moderately okay with Tau but like hasn't thought too deeply about this stuff. And I wanted to go through that and also give everybody an opportunity just to like get questions in, do whatever else. Undead Lobster King, thank you so much for resubbing at tier 1. Really appreciate you, dude. Obviously, to plug right at the start of the stream, if anybody is looking at getting coaching for themselves, there are two ways for you to do it. There is my website, which is down in the description of the YouTube video, where you can get a bunch of different packs. They come with the Discord link, as well as a link to my calendar, which shows up in your time zone automatically. That's a great way to support me. And there is also the Patreon, where you subscribe to the Chasso tier or the Join the Pantheon tier, depending on how much coaching you would want. Now, I will also say that we are still doing the fundraiser event. There's a link in the description of the YouTube video. This is the best way to support Chelsea and I at the moment. But yeah, that's all the plugging out of the way. Let's get into the information. Now, what we were going through was just a little bit of like, you know, Pathfinders with the recon drone, blah, blah, blah. And I brought up some of the positioning of individual models. And, you know, after I was sort of finished going through, Storm was like, yeah, that makes a ton of sense. I hadn't thought of that. And that is that, you know, and this is sort of the first bit of information. When we're considering models in the unit, we want to make sure, especially with things like infiltrate, because the process that we're going through with an infiltrating scout unit, if we're using them both aggressively and conservatively, and what I mean by that is that we're setting them up like wholly within 7 inches of a wall that they can jump behind, but we're also thinking about going forward and being able to shoot something up or whatever. It might be like up here, whatever. You really want to make sure that you are always giving priority of the best places to stand to your ions and to your chassis. So what we're looking at in terms of that, like if we've got, you know, I was using Harlequins as an example because I've been really loving Serpent's Brood. And so like it has a mix of speed. It has a mix of, you know, tricks and whatever else. But anyway, I'm not here to sell you on Harlequins. So we've got, let's set up a unit just here. And we're looking at, okay, there's a Pathfinder unit that can potentially get something done. Now, if I've got to set up in a position where they have to be able to get behind the wall, that might mean, because there's only limited real estate that we can stand in, if we just haphazardly throw our Pathfinder models wherever, we might actually find ourselves in a position where after we do a scout, and they'll likely have stuff like infiltrating up in here or be up there, and the scout move, you can't go within 9 of enemy units. And actually, this is something that I wanted to point out because I did have somebody contact me after the video and they were like, hey, you got it wrong. You can't scout move within range of the deployment zone. I was like, yes, you can. Yes, you absolutely can. And even like got a quote from like a screenshot from the core rules and everything else. So I just wanted to address that just in case anybody else has had something, because he had a bunch of people give him misinformation to him and didn't think too much about it. Especially because I know some of the other armies that he plays don't have a ton of infiltrate plus scout moves, so it never comes up for him. So if anybody else has had that misinformation given to them, scout moves do not care about the deployment zone, they care about enemy models. So infiltrate, you can't go within 9 of the deployment zone, but yeah. So if we've got to be in certain positions, we might actually find that, like, if they've got, say, like, just a Ranger unit sitting somewhere in here, where did I put my Rangers? Did I not put one in this particular list? Whatever. There will be one in there, but let's just say that they chucked a Ranger unit in there. I'll use this unit of troop just to sort of go for that. So we know that with scout moves, we're not going to be able to move that close. So at best, maybe we're going this way a little bit, but there will be restrictions on our movement. Then after our 7-inch move, if we're, like, you could make a scenario where you're just running straight at them, but a lot of the times you're actually wanting to, like, move block or be in front of people. So our scout move might actually bring us this way. And then what we want to do is have, like, all our pulse carbines and everything spread around here so that we can do our stuff. But after somebody moves, they'll go, okay, I've got 7 inches. He's going to go up to this side. He's going to go there. He's going to go there. And by virtue of where I've put my stuff, and then he's like, all right, and then I'm going to have some stuff shoot. And you go, oh shit, that's not my ions. Like, ions are the thing that's going to really put some hurt down on the Skyweavers. Or, into the Starweaver because it's a T6 body, so the ions are perfect for it. And you go, oh shit, I've only got pulse carbines looking at him. And that's where it's so important to make sure that the models that matter are the ones that are going in key positions and get the benefit of prime real estate. So what should have happened is that we set up so that change place with you, and where's my other ion? There he is. And then the Chasseur wants to be here because he carries the grenade launcher and your drones. Very, very important. Then the other boys, they don't really matter all that much, or assuming in this scenario that they don't matter. We then go like this. Chasseur a little bit across. We're still maintaining the 2 inches, but now everybody can draw through this line to get to the Skyweavers. Because really, we know from experience, like, yeah, Skyweavers T4, the pulse carbines are still going to be good, but we've got another objective that we have to complete, and we want to get as much damage down as possible. Damage 2 weapons means that only 2 need to go through to kill a Skyweaver as opposed to 3. And the grenade launcher with the damage 3 profile kills 1 outright without whatever. So make sure that when you're setting up, and decision making for this, bear in mind, goes as far back as, like, being over here. Being able to, like, jump in behind this building, potentially do whatever we have to. You could be over this way. You just wanted to block out this building and a little bit here so the Rangers couldn't go there, so the Rangers went there, which means you're not scouting, but whatever. That is such an important thing, and it doesn't just extend to damage that we want to get down. It is also the case that where we set up with, like, everybody at this point would be familiar with, a Pathfinder unit spreading out to the point where we're maximizing distance. We do this with fast orcas as well. And in that one, you would be doing this with, like, the Vorite Skinner, what I'm about to talk about. But if we go, something like this, whatever, you go there, you go in there, you can actually push a little bit further, you can push a little bit further, you can push a little bit further, and then he goes out like this, and then he goes out like this. I'll move these guys because this example isn't relevant anymore, and I can always reload it for when Storm and I do stuff. But anyway, you're familiar with this. And you get in situations in a game where, and this will be very, very relevant if people play Marines, Grey Knights, Custodes, any sort of Terminator list, whatever else. There are models in every single army that will be the last to die. Just purely by virtue of carrying special weapons, having better abilities, having, like Eldari have to consider 2 wounds on their leaders as opposed to, sorry, not the leaders, but like the sergeant of the unit, as opposed to the other ones that have 1 wound. Like, there are always within armies reasons why certain models can die first and other models will die last. But if I put myself in a position where, like, now I've done it here where my ions are on the objective. But let's say I don't want to be on the objective. I actually want to kill off so that another unit doesn't get like re-rolls or pulls, there are models hiding behind a certain feature. And so I start going, okay, I don't want to be on there. Oh shit, I've got 2 of my ions. And like this is, no matter which side I kill from, I have to start taking out ions eventually, and I'm on the objective. I don't want to kill these guys off first. So we need to make sure that depending on what we want to achieve, when we spread out like that, we also make sure that we are keeping track of what we will kill in what order, and is it relevant for continuing to hold an objective if their shooting fails. If you do want to keep holding it, then the ions need to be the thing, as well as the chassis need to be the thing on the objective. And then the string will happen from all the other boys. Or at the very least, you just have like one dude with ions on there because you know that he's probably going to be the last to die. So that is the concept. That is keeping track of what models in what unit are important. And then this extends to things like crisis suits. When we start allocating wounds, we know that if we've got a unit with a dude with a marker drone, he's got less wounds, and we're going to be probably killing him off last. We don't want to give up the gun drone immediately. We don't, sorry, not the gun drone, the marker drone immediately. You could tell it's like 6 a.m. here, which, extrapolate what you like, but, rough night last night, whatever. But, your crisis suit units, you're going to be killing off the guys with shield drones first. So, therefore, you want to make sure in a unit where you've got your Shazray, which, this one's set up with a shield drone, but let's say this guy is 3 wounds, the other 2 guys are 4. Why does his have 5 wounds? Anyway, we'll cover that a little bit later. Anyway, so if I have the Shazray over the other side of the commander, for whatever reason, if I kill off these 2, they're now broken coherency. One of these 2 models has to die, and it's not going to be a commander. So you need to make sure that certain models in a unit are near the character. Now, I have to do the same thing when I play Eldari. If I'm rocking a troop master in this big-ass unit, and I'm positioning them, and I'm setting up, and I'm whatever else, if I have, say, my lead player, as well as my boys with fusion pistols, are usually the last to die. These, outside of the neuro disruptors, can be great for an anti-infantry thing. But if I have my lead player and my fusion boys on one side of the unit and I've got my troop master on the other, I've fucked up. Because the second that I start killing stuff off, oh, okay, now the troop master has to die because he's broken coherency. Or I have to kill off the entire fucking unit. And so this is a pretty broad thing that even if you're not a Tau player, this is just core concepts. Make sure that you are positioning your models. Don't just haphazardly throw them up the table. Make sure that you are positioning them in places where leaders are with the stuff that you know that you want to kill last, and that those things that you are going to kill last or that have those special weapons are placed in good priority positions. Because if I've got my fusion pistols back here, whatever, and an enemy unit walks out, I know that I've got 8 inches on this fusion pistol. So if I move out and he is just outside of, 6 inches on the fusion, and he is just outside of that, I am fucking sad. Doesn't matter that the rest of the unit can be in front of him. And yeah, I'm probably going to get my charge off. But I could have had fusion pistols going down on this dude. Just by virtue of positioning. Does that all make sense to everybody? Are there any questions on that? Or anything, obviously this stream is an AMA. I'm going to be spending a bit of time, even after the information that I've got to extend out is exhausted. Storm, I'm very glad you recognize the board. I definitely stole this. I gave credit when we first got in, but yeah, look at all those arrows. I was saying to people, you can tell when we're in coaching, we get into it. We get into it hard. Stephen Phelan, how you doing? Autumn Effect, how are you doing? Good to see you as well, bud. Having this in mind has specifically saved my ass on multiple occasions. Always know who in your squad will be removed first and plan accordingly. It's something that will swap and flip the game so easily for you. Because, you know, it's a little bit easier. You're running something like the Immortal Tower. It's a lot of big units. You don't have to worry about it too much. But even little things, like stuff that might not even affect the course of the game. Like I've got a unit of Creek Carnivores, and I just keep track of where the Tangle Bomb launcher is. Because the Tangle Bomb is the only special weapon. It's probably the thing that I want to make sure I have in range, or that, you know, I know where it is so that when I start killing models off, I don't have to get rid of it easily. Same thing with the stealth suits. You want to make sure, especially now that it has changed and there is that one dude that's got your pistol for guiding combat. He's got your fucking marker drone. He's got like everything. He's got everything. If you put him in a dumb position, then I don't know. You deserve to lose. I don't know if that's too harsh, but yeah. It feels like my camera is like way in a weird position. Has anybody else noticed that? That I just look like I'm not even on camera? I don't know if I smashed my thing. Anyway, keep it up with chat. How many storm surges can you pack in your butt? The answer is yes. Which actually, shout out to my boy Dan, who got featured on Auspex Tactics. Let's pop that out. Open in browser. There we go. Took and was really inspired by my my Montcar video with like hyper-aggression. He had done this before that, but he watched it. It was like, this would have been so helpful for that. But anyway, went 4-1 at a 60-player GT with double Storm Surge, triple Riptide, a Piranha, Stealth Suit unit, Crew Carnivores, triple Pathfinder, Ethereal Strike Swiftly, and Shadow Sun. Did really, really well. So shout out to him. But yeah. You never go this hard on me. Well, that's because I'm worried I'll break you. Once I've gained by points that alone surviving Pathfinder Chaswee score because I placed him well. Yeah, and it becomes even more important if you're Chaswee, you don't take the gun drones, but you take the shield drones, so he's got 3 wounds. That 3-wound dude, at the end of activations, your opponent's like, oh yeah, maybe I kill it, maybe I don't, maybe or whatever. You spike some saves, and because you knew where he was going to be standing, that either he was going to take wounds first, and so you put other dudes in good positions, or you knew you were going to put it on him last and make your opponent really work for it, and then he's on an objective, is really, really big. Double Storm Surge list is wild, makes my singular Storm Surge seem way more reasonable. I know Vespid F tier list to my right. Well, that's the thing that, like, Dan went for a style which was jam everything down my opponent's throat. I am going to be on your nuts immediately. And if you can't handle that, I don't need the Vesper doing uppy downy. I don't care if you deep strike in behind me because I'm going to be in your deployment zone. So I don't have to score my home because I'll be scoring your home. But yeah, I really need to buy a Storm Surge. There is actually Phoenix, the website that I use for a lot of secondhand stuff. I don't know if you prefer to just go firsthand, but they're a British company called Troll Trader. Use them quite a bit, and they usually have something which is like very decently painted for almost anything that I could want from 40k. And usually it's a very significant discount. So if you're not going to go firsthand, then have a look at that. If not, I mean, like, here's the thing. I still won't recommend to anybody that the double Storm Surge or even a singular Storm Surge is the way. But if you love it, then it's not a mistake to get it. You know what I mean? Wu-Tay, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. I'm still going to call you Wu-Tang Bear. I know you changed your name and you rebranded and everything, but to me, you're still Wu-Tang Bear. Yeah, I kind of want to go first hand though, as I want to keep back some arms for it. That makes absolute sense. That is a great way to go. So for everybody that's trickling in, our conversation was around positioning models in the right place and making sure that they are able. Now, obviously, this will be up as a VOD straight away. No Tide Wall F tier. What the fuck are you guys doing? I mean, I don't disagree, but still though. But yeah, but giving priority to things like the Ions and the Chaswee and your Pathfinder units, the Chasvray and your Stealth unit, making sure that leaders stand with the guys with less wounds. Also, Stormcrow, can you Can you tell me why, and actually, do I need to look this up? It's been that long since I've used fucking crisis suits. Did they have 4 wounds of base and go up to 5? Or am I just like so fucking out of touch? I haven't used crisis suits in ages and I haven't gotten them shot at, so I have no idea. Oh my God, they are 4 wounds and fucking go up to 5. Don't mind me. I've been out of it for a little bit. Anyway, but you keep the guy with less wounds near the character because if other people in the unit have to die first, like if we do it the other way around, if the commander's out front and, you know, this happens in games where you do have like models that don't sit in like a tight stack. If this guy's 2 inches away from it, if you kill off these 2, bam, one of these 2 has to die because of coherency. So don't put yourself in that position. Just make sure your leaders are together. If you're playing another army, use whatever example of Troop Master with his players, whoever the most important things are. And that will, like this, the reason why I've brought this up and I find it so important is that like getting damage down in the right place is not just a matter of your, like it is a string of like 6 events that lead up to the point of you shooting. You got to deploy correctly. You've got to stage correctly. You've got to move correctly. You've got to factor in for terrain and obstacles and whatever else. You've got to factor in for the range of your weapon. You've got to factor in for decisions that your opponent's going to make. And then you move out and you fire your weapons. And if something along that string of causality doesn't line up, then you don't get to shoot. Or what you do get to shoot is like some pulse carbines where it should be ions. It's, you know, like mispositioning a Riptide. Yeah, you get to shoot the ion accelerator, but if you're outside of 18 or 12, depending on the detachment that you're using, the fusion doesn't get to shoot. And that is a really, really big deal. If you're running a Storm Surge, how do you maximize on the heavy keyword? What sort of things should I be looking for to keep them stationary? That's where the Montcar Strike Swiftly enhancement is incredible. Now, so let's dive off into a little bit of that because you guys are real pilled for Storm Surges right now, which does make me happy. It really, really does. Where is my... I've still got a double surge list, don't I? Maybe it's not in lists and it's in something else. Nope. No, none of those. Mr. and Mrs. Reptar. Now, this is a bit of an old list, so don't look at the composition of this as anything that you should be like, oh yeah, that's what I'm playing. But okay, so we look at Storm Surges. Strike Swiftly is so good, not just for like the Scout keyword is so powerful because not only does it let our Pathfinders move and then battle starts, movement phase, standstill, I get heavy. Doesn't matter about the Scout move at all. You do a similar thing with Strike Swiftly, where if I move in, like even just a Storm Surge, let's go that, then go back to that. That should stop the line from being completely solid. So if I just Scout move like this, even just a small move like that, Towering now ignores this, and this is the best way to use heavy. You either go like wholly within the terrain feature if you can hit it, but you don't even have to go wholly within. You just want to get to the point where your base is don't be a dick, my dude. There we go. Where your base is drawing around the wall, so you don't have to worry about that FAQ change that GW did to line of sight. And then, because like this guy doesn't need to be wholly within the terrain feature, I now just see through it. And I'm able to stand still and go. And this, I think, is another thing that, like, this was going to be the next point that I was going to talk about, that Storm and I were talking about a bit, was positioning and deploying in a way where models have options for dominating fire lanes. So let's grab everything out the center. And let's look at deployment. Just grab all you guys and you can just like make a little stack. And let's, like, I'll use the example of a Riptide because that's what we were doing before. And we were talking about like places that can be good for a Riptide to go. Now, if I put him somewhere like, let's say this, or let's go across like this, We're not giving up a sight line down there. That's fine. But why this position can be so good is that I can move wholly within, threaten there. I can go 10 inches and threaten out here. I can go 3.5 to clear. And then what, 6.5? And then I'm down here. Being able to be in a spot where you can threaten multiple sight lines, and most importantly, your opponent doesn't know which one you're going to go down. Not because it's a gotcha, not because you're hiding information, but because you're standing in a position where you could go anywhere. It's also the reason why I love the Cold Star with crisis suits. Everybody who watched my, brand new starter list that works in whatever, you will know that I said that I prefer the Cold Star. And it's for the reason that if somebody can measure out 10 inches, I call you will be there or you will be there. When I start adding 2 inches and a D6 to it, it adds to the number of positions I can get to and shoot from, which adds variability that my opponent has to account for, which makes their decision-making harder. And so it's a similar thing with this. And then when we factor in something like Strike Swiftly, if we were to and I see this a bit where people go a little bit too conservative, even with things like Storm Surges, and somebody puts it down here. Looking at this board, can people tell me already what's wrong with positioning like that? I'm going to give you the biggest overview that I can. What's wrong with our boy being down here in the grand scheme of how the battle's going to play out? I'll give you guys a couple of seconds if anybody wants to throw out what they think I'm about to say about this, knowing that this is a bad position. I don't care what Jay says. Storm Surge is the best. You know what? This is fucking slander. I am getting Reptar. While I wait for you guys to put answers in the chat and fucking do it, or don't. I'm not your dad. I can't tell you what to do. But put answers in the chat. I'm going to get Reptar, and Reptar's going to sit here and watch this stream knowing that he is my biggest fan and I'm his. You motherfuckers coming around here telling me that I'm this and I'm that. I will fucking fuck your mouth. Legal disclaimer for anybody who might be concerned. I am not going to fuck your mouth. That is just something that Australians say. Boom! Reptar that may or may not show up because green screen. Bitch. Bitch, that's how you know it's Reptar, because he's a little bit invisible. Don't threaten me with a good time. Can't get to all the objectives. It's way too easy for them to hide from you. Not gonna lie, it's so validating seeing JC search placement is where I'm consistently putting mine. Fuck yeah, limited option on where to go. You can only go one way. Trip Surge's life, I mean, Nero's not fucking wrong. He's not fucking wrong. 2 for Christmas to add to the one I already had. Gonna be terrible to go for. Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. All right, this might be Chelly being like, you too fucking loud and you woke up your son. I gotta answer this and I'll be back. All right, actually, it's not me being loud. Turns out Mally might have wet through, and I need to go and give him a change. So, Beal, entertain the people, and I want you guys to have a look at this, because everything that you guys have put in chat is absolutely correct. They can hide from you too easily. It's going to be hard to get to objectives. You can't dominate sight lines. You can't do whatever. My Twitch subs, get some of those, get some emote spam so people can enjoy some emote spam in their thing. And if you would like to join the emote spam, go to Twitch, use your Prime sub, or use a tier 1 sub or a tier 2 or a tier 3 sub, depending on the emotes you want to get access to. I've got to go and be a dad. I'll be back very, very soon. Don't go anywhere. Beal, entertain the people. Okay, everybody. Somebody wanted to come and say hi and grab the microphone real quick. Someone was little Mr. Wheeze, weren't you? Hey? Did big wheeze everywhere, didn't you, little bub? I love that I've got a Mally emote. I absolutely love that I've got a Mally emote. We need to set up more because that's him when he was like really young. Everybody's in the Discord. I'm going to be putting up a Christmas photo of Mally and Mushu together. It is the cutest thing ever. All right. He wants to play with Reptar. You know what? There's going to be a little bit of the future. You're going to play with Reptar, aren't you? Hey? Because we love the Storm Surge. And anybody who asserts that we don't love the Storm Surge is slandering my little boy. I can see Mally being a world eater's main for the Mally. Get out. Get out. All right, let's send you back to your mummy. Say goodbye, Mally. All right, we'll be back in just 2 seconds. Beal, dance for him. All right. Being a dad to my child done. For now. Thank you, everybody, for the emote spam. Mushu did try and hop on the chair. He just didn't get it. All right. So, considering the trip surge list the ultimate rule of cool, is there a place for a KHP surge list? I do think so. I think that double surge is probably better for KHP. Because the extra 400 points you have to spend on the Storm Surge, I think, is better used on things like Rampages and whatever else. But, yeah, he's going to be Horus Heresy player. It's in his name. Well, I mean, that's what I was thinking where people are like, World Eaters, whatever else. I'm like, there is literally an Auto Malleus. Like I have Grey Knights. It's right there. It's right there, ready for him to go. But he might actually rebel against it and just be like, fuck you, Dad. What's the matter, Moo Boy? All right, my children are disrupting the stream too much. Okay, so let's get back to what we were talking about. Storm Surge down here. 8 inches to clear that. You're here turn 1. Yeah, you've got one sight line, but that's one sight line. That means your opponent can stand here, can stand behind here, behind here, behind here. They can interact with 3 objectives without your Storm Surge being able to see them and do anything with them. Now, a mod card that gets a little bit harder because you can go 14 and you can like jump over whatever. But even still, the extra 6 in a place like this, you still have to rotate. So at best, you're going here. Whereas if I were to put myself, if I'm worried about long range shooting, here, that same 8 inches is either like into a building where I'm looking 3 different directions and in the next turn able to step onto an objective. Because front of base from here, 8 inches puts me out there. So even factoring in for the wall, we're going to get there. Or you just go like around like this, even with a rotate 6 inches. Again, sightline there, sightline there, sightline there. And then on the next turn, we're up here. In 2 turns, we're in the center, which is a lot more valuable than standing over here where we can't see over the other side of a wall. We can, now that he's in the center, whatever unit we would have had in the center can just like come around here and deal with this and be infantry and run through walls and do whatever we have to. Whenever you're deploying, and this is a big part of positioning, if you haven't mapped out where your units are able to get to turn after turn, and how many turns it is going to take X unit to get to X position, assuming nothing goes wrong and nobody stands in your way, which is a very big assumption, then you are doing yourself a disservice. Mushu just needs to get down from the thing. My son loves the Seraphon and orcs. Fucking based as shit. Who doesn't love dinosaurs and orcs? Come here, little boy. Here you go. Go and see mummy. Go and see mummy. There you go. That's my good boy. So that is another thing that I can give you guys as a very strong piece of advice. Make sure when you're planning out your deployment, and this is something that Storm and I were doing on this map and the last map and the other maps that we're going to be planning out for his tournament. Make sure you know where your units are able to get to, even for like the 2 turns ahead of you. And then, you know, plan after that to be a little bit more flexible or whatever. Because if I put, you know, say my 2 Riptides here, I know that I've got flexibility for where they can go. But aside from flexibility, I've also got a certain amount of determinism of, okay, this one is able to touch the objective turn 1. That is a great position for me to be in. Love that for me. If I want to have him like, and, you know, I see positions like this, where it's like, oh, okay, I'll be all the way back here because now I'm safe and nothing can get to me. And I'm like, yeah, technically, but also, like, you didn't pre-measure back of his base so that you could be wholly within 10 of the thing, like a lot of people position so that he ends up like this, and now you're not able to shoot through because you're not wholly within. You have put him in a position where you can't actually get line of sight around, so it doesn't matter that whatever, like, this guy isn't interacting with your opponent's army until at least turn 2, assuming that you're comfortable putting him here, and then having, like, whatever shoot back into you because you've touched a terrain feature. They can see you, but you can't see them. So when I see deployments like, you know, Riptide down here or Riptide all the way over here, and it's like, that's cool and everything, but if your opponent's smart, they just won't put anything down here. And now you've got to, like, because I can't get the other side, I can't clear that. Oh, okay, shit, I've got to stand here. And then now I've got to go here and go around, and it's turn 2 and my guy still hasn't touched an objective and is now only able to get to a position where he could have been standing, bear in mind, turn 1, if he had been in a normal position. Does that make sense to everybody? I don't know that that's the correct response, Phoenix, because Nero's right. Like, he's 2. It's I'm not sure how to take that comment. Chat help. In my community, there's a player who plays Dark Angels is frustrating because his rules are very absurd. Rock detachment, and he thinks he's the best player in the world because of it. Okay, so without, like, you know, knowing a lot of details or whatever else, it's hard for me to give you recommendations for what to do. But what I can tell you is that player will have a very big comeuppance when all of a sudden rules change. Edition shift, the thing that he was relying on. I saw this at the end of 9th, where there were people who had locked down like a really sort of broken strategy. There was a dude who was spamming demons with their 3-up ranged invulnerable saves. And he did the same thing. He thought he was top shit. And then as soon as that went away, it has actually come out now that he's a cheater, and he has been, like, ostracized from everything, because after that broken shit was taken away, obviously he couldn't hack it. So as a little bit of, you know, what is to come, even outside of any, you know, practice you might do, coaching, whatever, or, you know, this guy randomly getting lost in the woods, additions change, things shift, and no one strategy stays the same forever. So if he's a legitimately great player, he'll find another army or another style of playing that Dark Angels and do very well with it. If he's not, then he will stumble, and you will be able to have a great old Gafar at his expense. Actually, I believe the term is artistic. Beale is very artistic. I don't make the rules, you like dinosaurs, that's a sign. Wait, so does that mean that Ross from Friends was like the pinnacle of autism? Because, like, you know, my wife's neurodivergent, and there are some times that Ross does some stuff that I'm like, hey, Chelly, how you doing? How you doing, girl? Was in a weird seeing you on and then also she has some neuroticisms like Monica, and like, oh my God, I'm married to Ross and Monica. Wait, does that make me Chandler? Oh, that's a little bit funny and or sad. Oh. We play with plastic soldiers. We're all on the spectrum by default. I mean, the spectrum's a wide place. There's a lot of areas for you to land and be very, very happy. Don't insult us by comparing us to Ross. Look, you know what? I think we can all just agree that they were on a break. Is that fair? Like, can we just all agree that they were on a break? I know that's probably the least divisive opinion to have, and it's not going to split any part of the community whatsoever, but they were on a break. Ross would have played 40k. He almost 100% did. Like, even though they didn't show it in the show, you know that he had something. I'm glad that my family's up because Lord Hestia has redeemed a war. Volume warning for anybody who has not had one of these before. And Beale Key, the once again for the 50th time, Beale being like, we should get a sound clip of this so you don't have to do it all the time. But Jay had his third nipple removed. No, I didn't. I just moved it to a trophy shelf. All right. Volume warning. Ooh! Thank you, Hestia. Thank you for the redeem. My son didn't start crying, so that's pretty good. Maybe he will be an orc player. Who knows? Apparently, he looked towards the room like, what the hell was that? Might have played fantasy at least. Oh, don't get me started on fantasy. I love fantasy. That's where I started. That was my shit. We're getting into like hard yap territory. Does anybody have any other questions in terms of like anything that I didn't touch with positioning, model positioning, understanding who's in your unit, who's going to die first, who needs to stand on objectives, or any other general Tau stuff? Again, this is a continuation of the series, the Pantheon Grotmas. This is my gift to all of you. So at the moment, my time is yours. Make use of it. This is normally something that people have to, like, you know, buy a coaching pack to get. Were they on a break? Yeah. But it's a stupid thing to do. They don't want to fix things with it. Yeah, dipshit. Yeah, it was. In a way, it was the most manufactured drama that the writers could have come up with. Sudden urge to Montcar. It's not a bad urge. Not a bad urge at all. All right. I'm going to go and sort of drink for myself because wiring really, like, dries out the throat. I'll give you guys a little bit of an opportunity just to like have any questions, have any whatever else, talk to each other and see if there's anything you'd like me to run through. But if not, I think what I'm going to do is spend a little bit of time honoring my Kaldor Drago, Pagan, and get together a Tidewall list that I would really, really like to play, especially given some of the changes in the meta, some of the stuff that's coming out, Victrix Honor Guard, that sort of stuff. Not saying that the Tidewalls are good for it, but just some pieces that I thought like could be a little bit of fun and be a little bit stupid. But yeah. They have another. Oh, look at that clip. Look at that clip. Bill, we need to find a way to put that into Redemption, so then that can play. Maybe we need to put it, like, I don't know if you can do it for, like, our points redemptions. Maybe we have to tie it to, like, a sub or, like, bits or something like that. But I did want to have something for, like, the points redemptions, just so it's not, like, what do you call it? Paywalling people. But, yeah, I don't know. But, yeah, I'll be back in 2 seconds. Don't go anywhere. I will get a drink, and we will do some Tidewall cooking after I answer your questions. All right, you fuckers, we are back. Just went and checked on Mally, double checked that the WAR didn't absolutely ruin his shit. While we're talking about this, can we go through deployment on 3 more maps? Not on stream, that is so much time. One thing I've got to be really cognizant of with some of these streams is that I don't like allow myself to descend into an unbearable amount of yapping, because then people look at the VOD length and they're like, I'm not going to watch that. Especially like the people that already know who I am and they watch me and whatever, they will happily do it. But it doesn't entice newer people to come and watch it because they're like, oh, I might want the information, but how the fuck is it taking him 2 hours to do this? So like, I actually have to be very, very careful with not overdoing it in a single video. And like, I want to tell people everything all the time, all at once, but it doesn't help discoverability. It doesn't help whatever. Like if I'm treating this as a job, which I should be, and trying to whatever. So any tip for auxiliary carder, 2x6 ramps or 3 2x6? 100% 2x6. What do you think of our indirect, especially versus an orc enemy bringing a lot of tank buster? Breaker boys worth chipping away at them. Generally speaking, orc players will be smart enough to put them in transports, so the indirect actually doesn't do a lot. A lot of the time, they're rocketing out of the transport at you. If they don't have transports, it can be fine. That said, our indirect is like... It's a weird thing because it's taking the place usually of some very efficient guns that are direct fire. Like you look at hammerheads and sky rays, it's taking the place of accelerator burst cannons, 2 of them, which is 8 shots of strength 6 AP1 damage 1, which is just like really nice. And it also, like, all these things benefit from the hammerhead rule, which is +1 to hit against vehicles and monsters. So as additive fire, it adds to it a lot. And if you're running Mont Card, they benefit from lethal hits. If you're playing Carrion, they benefit from sustained hits. You can give them things like experimental prototype card. You can give them +1 strength, -1 AP. You can give them sustained lethal, like whatever. The Riptides, giving up twin fusion or twin plasma is a hard sell. The broadsides are probably the more readily able to do it because they are slow movement units, so you can do that. I ran them at the teams tournament when my Immortal Tower did quite well, and I actually kind of felt like it was doing nothing. So the indirect was kind of though I will say, if you go down that route, make sure you mass it. Don't just go for like little bits and pieces. Have you ever considered splitting your VODs in half, like just end one of the hour points, start up another one immediately following? For instance, it's pointless, just a headache for you. So it does become a bit of a headache because as far as YouTube's concerned, you have to have, if you want any sort of discoverability, if you want people clicking on your videos, you need to have a thumbnail. And making 2 different thumbnails doubles the work for that. And then even sometimes when you take a stream down and then you load it back up straight away, both Twitch and YouTube can have some very fucking weird things that happen there. The best thing that we could probably do, and this will be easier once the channel's earning more, because then I'll be very regularly able to pay Beal to download them, cut bits out, and then like do an individual upload of not with the stream with all of its accoutrement, which is, you know, here for the experience for you guys, and it's us like chatting or whatever. It's cutting out all of the yapping, it's cutting out the start and the end and whatever else, and making it a bit more digestible. But that at the moment is an extra work that I can take on, and I also don't have the funds to pay somebody else to do it. So it's like, yeah. Question was having a bit of a GW protest by removing stealth suits from my list, but having used them now, I'm loving having the Firesight Marksman as a set and forget unit without a most best line of sight I can get. Should I put stealth back in if I'm finding play easier this way? The only time that I think that stealth suits are mandatory, and it's just my opinion, if you run Riptides, you have to run a unit of stealth suits. Just at base. It changes a little bit. Like if I'm running ion heads, it's a little bit of a similar sort of thing where I want the stealth suits for them. Sky rays, railheads, even to some degree the storm surge, not as necessary there, but it's Like, I don't want to give up the reroll ones to wound. Because I look at other armies that don't have access to rerolls. Like, I look at my Harlequins list. And rerolls would be nice there, but because every single troop has 5 attacks per model, like, we look at, let's go into this. Hopefully I didn't just type anything by hitting W on the wrong screen. But like, okay, this map has a wonderful feature called Stat Helper. So if I grab like my 12-man unit here with a Troop Master, this is the number of attacks we've got. The Troop Master's Blade is 5 attacks of Strength 5, AP 2, Damage 2 with Dev Wounds. Power Sword on the lead player, 5 attacks, Strength 4, AP 2, Damage 1, Dev Wounds. 55 attacks of Strength 3, AP 1, Damage 1 with Devastating Wounds. Now, in Serpent's Brood, I always give them, I spend the stratagem for reroll 1s to hit, +1 to wound, and -1 to be hit. You activate all 3 of their Dance of Death abilities. So in armies like this, you could probably see that if I'm like, throwing this many dice, even let's consider a Riptide. This 12-man goes and touches a Riptide. We roll that, reroll 1s to hit, cool. Get rid of those and sustained hits because we got out of a transport there. So we get 51 hits on 3s, and then it'll be 5s because we're +1 to wound, and 6s are Dev Wounds. So he automatically takes 6 wounds. Then those is 3 ups, he takes 2 more. So that 12-man with just the troop, deal 8 wounds to him. Now, rerolls would be fantastic there, but what I'm getting at is like the sheer volume of it. And the volume does get better with rerolls, but with a large bucket of dice that you're throwing. And I would actually argue that we rolled pretty poorly on the wound roll there. That wasn't the average. This becomes like we're kind of going to kill anything. Then when we look at something like the Riptide, because of this unit is so anemic. Because rather than having a shitload of volume like the Fine Knives have and whatever, of course your script is broken. I hate you. Anyway, we need, out of those 6 shots, we need as many of those to go through as possible. Each one is such ridiculous high value. And so reroll 1s to hit, reroll 1s to wound becomes more of a mandatory proposition. It's also, you've got your missile drones, which are very, very useful, and we need to have the reroll 1s to hit and wound on that. When you've got something like the Hammerhead, is getting +1 to hit already. The Ion, I want it for the Strength 8 Ion shots, but like the Railgun, you're winning on 2s, and you just CP if you fail that. Oh, it's got a data sheet ability for reroll 1 anyway. So I think that stealths are still going to exist in my list. And this is something that I probably left it too long. But I wanted to make a follow-up video being like, for all my frustrations with how GW's handled this, I'm still going to be running at least a unit of stealths in my list. And just playing them effectively from, a like position where their sightline can catch anybody and they're hard to retaliate against and all that sort of stuff. Because the buff is worth it. And it's not like it was. Can any of you imagine if this stealth suit change happened back when our army rule was the way it was before we got updated, and stealth suits could designate 1 unit and you get reroll 1s to hit and wound against that, and then they got turned into a 5-man and their points went up and they lost all their fallback and shoot. Can you imagine the world that we would be in if our army rule hadn't changed? Which, by the way, I'm not saying that I did it, but somebody was saying like right before that change happened that exact change should happen. But, I'm not saying that it was me, but yeah. But yeah, so I still think stealth suits have a place in every single list. Can we do UKTC round 5 deployment for Immortal Tower? We can certainly do that. Also, we love you, Jay. I'll love you too, dude. All right, so UKTC round 5 deployment. All right, let's reload the map. Wait, but which round 5? UKTC don't have a set round 5, do they? Two Storm Surge, 1 with Pulse Driver Cannon and Experimental Prototype Carter. I mean, one Storm Surge with Pulse Blast Cannon, one Storm Surge with Driver Cannon is absolutely fine regardless of detachment. I would actually recommend not playing the Storm Surge in Experimental Prototype card because it can't benefit from any of its stratagems. If you go Monkar, you got a -1 damage strat. If you go Kauyon, you've got all the benefits that come with that and +1 to wound on objectives and whatever. Hell, even Oxcad, you can't get the extra AP from the detachment rule, but you can get advance and shoot. You can get +2 strength. You got there's a bunch of things you can do. It's not a mistake to play it in Experimental Prototype card, but I don't think there's any unique thing that it gets because it doesn't have the goddamn battlesuit keyword. GW, please give it the battlesuit keyword. Please, for the love of fuck. It just, yeah. And I know, it's a ballistic suit. Get off my fucking dick, but yeah. World that I would like to live in. Crude Lone Spear is a must-have. Auxiliary Carter. What are your must-have units? Lone Spear is definitely not a must-have. Auxiliary Carter I have loved running with at least 12 rampages. At the very least, you're 2 units of Crew Carnivores, 2 units of Vespid, so you've got a lot of mission play, you've got a lot of screens, you've got a lot of whatever, and then things that just naturally benefit from it. Pathfinders have so much volume, they can guide for themselves, they can whatever. They're a fantastic unit to run in duplicate, triplicate, whatever. I love the Ion Head, Sky Rays, Riptides, fucking you name it. A single Ghostkeel is great for having a lone op unit that can then lone op the Crete units around it. Lone Spear isn't a mistake. I want to point that out right now. It is not a mistake, but it's not an auto include, if that makes sense. You have a reason for taking it, but it's not the be all end all. And you're not fucked if you don't take it, but yeah. Would have been devastation? It absolutely would. It's set. Okay, let's have a look at it then. So show maps. Round 5. Why? Take and hold. 3, 4, 5. Is that search and destroy, take and hold? Is that our round 5? Looks like it. Yeah. All right. All right, search and destroy, and then we're running the Immortal Tower list. I'm going to assume that you're playing some variation of the list that I put out. So let's just go the, where is mine? Mortal Crisis. Now, obviously, this one won't be a 1-to-1. This is on the previous patch of the game where we still had 3-mans and 6-mans, but literally all we do is just go like that, go like that, go like that. What are you doing here? Get out of here. Stupid ass stealth suit. And then in this version of the list, I think I dropped a Ghostkeel and added some more stuff, but whatever. So we're running this, and this is actually this is what I ran with Stormcrow. That in every deployment, there are places you are naturally going to put stuff, and it's actually a lot more intuitive than people give it credit for, because there are only certain places that stuff can go. Now, I won't get into all the nitty gritty because it does depend on who you're versing, what abilities they have access to, all that sort of stuff. But generally speaking, so we know that our infiltrators are going to want to go down first. So our infiltrators being Ghostkeel and Pathfinders. I'm not including the stealth suits in this because they're so high value, you don't threaten them with blocking positions or positions your opponent can easily get to. So when we're looking at this map, I'm just going to hover over the top of it. And we're looking at infiltrators. There is a spot that is naturally very, very good for our stuff to go. And there is a spot that we know that our opponent is likely going to want to get and can be very, very hard for us to play against or contest. Now, assuming that our opponent can't easily get over to the position I'm thinking of, can anybody using top left, middle right, bottom right, or deployment right, deployment left? I want you guys to have a guess as to where either a Pathfinder unit or a Ghostkeel goes down first. We've one defender, so we're putting down the first infiltrator. They've got little units that can easily tuck into corners, hide behind walls, stand in front of us at key positions. What would you be putting down first, and where would you be putting it? Ness A19, hi, or what did I miss? a fair amount. I would highly recommend going back. The VOD will be available immediately. I would highly recommend going back and watching that, where we talked about some of the key stuff. We've now gone on to deployment on UKTC round 5. But yeah. Natural objective. Whose natural objective? Because my natural is top left. His natural is bottom right. I'll give you guys a chance to chuck in any guesses that you might have. So Bill's gone top left. I run an EPC, but that's more because I love the Storm Surge and I love EPC. Any rules and benefits it gets? Yeah, that's fair. Can do work if you give it +1 strength, +1 AP hazardous? Yes, it can. Yes, it can. That's the big reason why I would recommend at any time if somebody's like, I really want to do this, I would be like, okay, sustain lethal or strength and AP, you're going to be looking at every single round. Like, you want to have a CP available for it. And to be fair, it does get easier to do that because you're not going to use a reroll number of hits. You can't heal it. You can't -1 to wound it. So you are actually going to have CP available. And the biggest problem with the Storm Surge, GW could fix it in a data slate. Give all its little guns -1 AP. Maybe not like the Flamer or whatever, but the missile rack that it's got, the blast missiles, them not having AP is fucking criminal. I cannot believe that it doesn't have AP. Natural objective, yours. Okay. We'll do that. Also, the numbers are silent. Numbers are silent? What? Are there numbers? Are the numbers in the room with me right now? Top left, 1 inch from the wall, so it's hard to get into melee. So, we've had a universal response of top left. Now, this is absolutely a decent position that you could put them in. Now, if we were to go down this route, what unit would I be putting down first? You got a Ghostkeel or you got a Pathfinder unit? What is going in the top left? I'll give you guys a chance to answer. I still don't know which numbers are silent. Oh, the CTS map thing is good. Oh, yes, it is. This has been one of the best things that I have invested in learning, not only for my coaching and everything else, which is great to do on here, playing against people, identifying parts of the game, planning turns out. This thing is amazing for tournament prep. Really, really amazing. And actually, a lot of my coaching is preparing people at the moment for tournaments by going through exactly what we're going through right now. Deployment, where to position, where to put stuff, what good angles or hiding positions or whatever else are, things your opponent's going to do, all that good jazz. Seeing Pathfinder, Ghostkeel make them come out and play. Okay, so the correct answer here. If we go top left, Pathfinders will go here. Now, I did see somebody say 1 inch off the wall, which is fine to do, but bear in mind, you need to use their scout move both offensively and defensively. So, what I usually do is just set up so that, like, if we're doing the 1 inch off the wall thing, which bear in mind in WTC, and I think UKTC have taken this on, you can either, like, stop halfway through a wall from a charge, which means you're not unchargeable, or infantry have a 2 inch engagement range, which means you also can't do this. So just be aware of that. Any tournaments you might go through, especially WTC. But let's say we're doing the 1 inch off the wall thing. Do that and then go forward 7. And then I'm like, all right, this is where I'm deploying. So then both me and my opponent know that if I go first, I can go 7. If not, we don't have to pre-measure. He's already seen where my Pathfinders are going to be able to land. Now, obviously, in person, I'll just use a tape measure and do that because whatever. But TTS, very, very easy to drag it where you want it to be, then move it out. This is not a bad position. The problem is now we've just opened up our opponent to chuck a little unit of something down in here. And getting over here is going to be an absolute bitch, which means our trading patterns now have to be this over here, whatever. What I would actually recommend is that the Pathfinders don't go down first because we have enough stuff that we're easily able to get up to this objective. Like a Riptide could just walk up here in a single turn. That's not difficult for him to do at all. What I would recommend is actually the Ghostkeel comes down like this. Now, obviously, we want to pre-measure. We want to ask our opponent, do you have advance and charge? Do you have units that can like run in, pop, a Ghostkeel? But this distraction can't effects, a lot of people will worry about more than they should. Because not only is our 12-inch bubble like that, so they've got to come out somewhere in the open to try and deal with this guy. And they're not even guaranteed to kill him. But now, look at the bubble that we've blocked off. His infiltrators can stand in the open, but they are not going here. We have now denied something that they can't deny from us. Because let's say that they put like a little unit down. Let me chuck down like, I don't know, I'll chuck down an Eldari army. Whoa, that's a big ass army. Let's go Avatar the Last Canebender. And they go, all right, Rangers, I'm going to do a similar thing. Like, all of you are probably seeing where I'm going with this. The difference between removing a Ghostkeel and removing a unit of Rangers is like night and day. These guys do not live. They do not live. Whereas a Ghostkeel, kind of hard to remove and actually weirdly defensive, but still gets the job done. Now, I will say, I'll throw it out again. This was not a mistake for the boys to think about putting the Pathfinders down there. There are a lot of games where I do that because my opponent doesn't have infiltrators that are going to do this. This isn't a play that we are always going to do. But just keep it on the top of your mind that this terrain feature is very good for our opponent to stand behind. And we, unless you're running guerrillas in auxiliary Carter, don't have good melee that is able to clear them out. That said, you know, you could run a Ghostkeel just outside of 9 of the unit down here. You could like move them across and shoot at them. You could like tank shock them, whatever. But that means that your opponent knows where your Ghostkeel is and what you're committing to. And that sometimes, like, the difference between getting the drop on somebody over here and reactively putting him down here is like, it's fine. It's fine, honestly. But you're not guaranteed to kill him with the tank shock. You're not guaranteed when you run him this way, there won't be guiding support for him, so you're also not guaranteed to kill him there. Does that make sense to everybody? Ghostkeel, make them come out and play. I think that was to your other one, but yeah. Ghostkeel up the other side, I don't think is a bad thing. I just think with how many tools we've got, the Ghostkeel is actually better playing a little bit more of a high risk, high reward distraction kind effects that drags your opponent out. Because up here, we can just hold this with a random ass unit, not have to worry about them at all. And they will have to walk out in the open because this is our benefit. They don't have anything to hide behind up here. So my brain always naturally goes down to this side where he can play a dangerous game that no other tower unit can. And in a lot of instances, like, live it and win. Sorry, you read my name aloud, the numbers. Oh, I see what you're saying. You like to just be called Ness. Yeah, gotcha. No problem. All right, so that is the first part of our deployment. Let's say that our big brain opponent goes the Rangers just there. In that case, if he doesn't have any other infiltrators, which I don't think this list does. No, he has a unit of striking scorpions. So I'll probably just go like, all right, I don't want you to have any nice stuff, so that's your 9-inch bubble there. Cool. I don't especially think that you're going to come after me all that hard, so what I'm going to do is just go like that and make sure that I can 7-inch pile behind this wall. Give Ions the prime real estate, as we spoke about. Go. Boom. All right, cool. Oh, now, actually, one really cheeky thing that I want to show you guys. This is like one of my favorite things to do with people. Your opponent has a unit that has infiltrate and scout. And let's say they get defender. And they go, all right, yeah, cool. So I'm going to be like this. I'm going to scout move back behind my thing, whatever. But also I could go like super aggressive onto you. So I got this big brain play. And you measure it out. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, cool. Ghostkeel. Now, your opponent can't scout move back because they end within 9 of you. They literally can't get back to this wall, so at best they're going up here, and then we could, like, run around here, whatever. And, like, if you really want to fuck somebody over who thinks they're being a cheeky fuck, and bear in mind somebody could do that to you with the Pathfinder tech that we were talking about over here. Just bear in mind, especially if your opponent's army isn't readily able to deal with the Ghostkeel, which a lot of them aren't. They have to have a unit free to scout move behind it. Yeah, it's fucking genius scout move blocking Ghostkeel. It is the best feeling in the world. Like, you haven't lived until you've seen somebody set up and they're like feeling so good about themselves. Yeah, I'm going to scout move behind this wall and I'm going to like, flexible. I'm going to go forward. I'm going to go backward. You don't know. And I'm like, Ghostkeel, I know where you're going and it's not backward. Until you've seen somebody's face fucking drop knowing that you just outplayed them with one model. Anyway, that's my gift to you. It doesn't always come up in every single game. Obviously, like, people have to have... There's weirdly not a lot of units in the game that have both infiltrate and scout, but when you come across it and you get to do it, it's beautiful. Chef's kiss. Anyway, okay, so the rest of our deployment. Broadside, almost 100% has to take this real estate here, or some version of real estate along this line. And you could even consider rolling his weapon back this way and putting him that way if you're not worried about anti-tank popping the wall. If he does have things like fire dragons that can like easily just run out and get you, then over here starts to become like a bigger prospect for you to consider. But the reason why the broadside has to take either this position, you could look at here, though this is a lot more limited in terms of where stuff's going to go. Once I walk onto this, even if I don't walk any further forward, again, sight lines down this way, down this way, down this way, back that way. This is putting a broadside in a position where you can maximize your heavy. And Stephen, if you're still here in chat, this is again something with like storm surges, broadsides, all that sort of stuff that has heavy. You want to use this sort of stuff to make sure that I'm in position, I can be where I need to be, and you've got to be reactive around that. And even if you're not standing here and you're doing it as a like opponent moved out, bam, here we go, this is still just a good position to use the broadside because broadsides live and die by their 5-inch movement. And every time I see somebody deploy like a broadside back here, I'm like, all right, back to what we were talking about before. You didn't consider, where am I going to be able to be turn 1? Where am I going to be able to be turn 2? Where am I going to be able to be turn 3? Because this guy, turn 1, he's there. You've literally given up a full turn's movement to not shoot anything. And then, turn 2, he's there. Assuming that nothing else goes wrong, or move blocks, or stands in the road, or whatever else. And if your opponent gets to freely walk out turn 1, and by the time your broadside waddles its ass 2 turns up here, in your opponent's second turn, transport might already be down around here. The unit that you needed to kill on that turn 1 got to freely fuck around and never find out. And that's a problem. So, broadside, some measure of around here, and this is where doing a little bit of deployment training is a good idea. Riptide, obviously fantastic to have right here, because this little part, this section of this on UKTC terrain, you can move over as if it's not there. The higher stuff you've got to go around, or infantry can go through it, whatever. But with things like rampages, riptides, whatever, just remember that like this bit you can move past, everything that's on the right side of that blue line. So riptide there, absolutely fine. You could also consider a riptide up here. Now the reason for that is that, yes, he's at the back here, but if I go into here, wholly within, he's able to see over the top. He's able to shoot. I'm still able to affect stuff on this sight line. Now, it's not the best position, but if you're really struggling for room, that is something you can consider. There's also, like, I see people putting stuff in here. I would hold this area for stuff like your crew carnivores, your stealth suits, your whatever, because we need to have a little conga like you mean it, because we want to be able to scout move turn 1 and take the objective. So we go like this, we're going to wrap around him, we're going to whatever. And now this is deployment if we're not worried about our opponent like rushing us with melee. But we'll get to that in a little bit. I do think that a Riptide sort of like around this way, if they do have fast anti-tank that can come down here, like Chaos Knights love their Despoiler, who's able to just walk on here and do exactly what we were talking about with the Riptide and also shoot down this way. So don't put your Riptide in a position where he can get you. Go there. If you're not worried about any long range shooting or whatever, fine to be there. But let's just say there. And then the next guy, I also really do love this position just like that, pre-measuring for your opponent not being able to tag your engines with any of his anti-tank shooting. If he's got stuff that could walk on there, then obviously just don't give him the angle. But this one is fine because he can just very readily 10 inches over the top and he's interacting, he's shooting, or he's coming up this way and he's assisting everything up here with playing the mission there. Vesper don't matter. Vesper are usually the first thing to go down, as well as the Ethereal. So just Vesper, doesn't really matter where they are. Get your opponent to put down models first. Ethereal in there. We're still going to sticky our home just in case something happens to the Ethereal. Stealth suits, if we're not worried about any rush melee, they occupy positions like this very, very well. We do not put them in highly aggressive, dangerous positions to get killed off. Another great one is just being inside here. Because then, jump the wall, guide this way. Jump the wall, guide this way. We're also within 8 inches without an advance of this objective. Very, very important. Now, the Crisis unit is able to be a little bit more flexible and just be behind this stack of Kroot and can also occupy this area extremely well. Because we're moving 12, we're advancing, they can get around the walls both ways with more than enough movement. This is a unit that is the polar opposite of the broadside. They can be very flexible because they can go so far. These two, start in strat reserves every single time, almost without question. Then the other Pathfinder unit, I would probably put like here. Make sure that when you're deploying, you carve out a section where the Pathfinders can stand. You can even move like this a little bit back, just so that after the scout move is done, you've got your boys. Yep, so as long as he goes there. Hiding behind terrain and not able to be shot. So you see what I mean? So the boys can just kind of be up here. That means they can go very, very aggressive. Forward, they can do kind of whatever you need them to. But yeah, so you get the picture there. Any questions on round 5 UKTC deployment? Any of the infiltrate tricks, any of the scout tricks, anything like that? Early movement like this is why I planned my heavies in 2 groups, split for the most relevant shooting lanes. Sorry, slow time. That's all good, Nurse. Yeah, planning is incredibly important. And you know what? Honestly, if you're looking at getting better and, you know, for people that aren't in a position to like get coaching or you don't have a consistent, like good play group full of talented players, or you're not already in our Discord and you can't ask people, you can't whatever, one of the best things you can do for yourself is load up TTS, load up the map and the mission and whatever else, and do what I've been doing and plan out. Like the way that I got good at the game or like started to understand it at a deeper level was because I was setting this stuff up and being like, all right, if I put this here, what is the actual outcome? And then I might play with myself a little bit. And then after I'm done with that, I would come and play against myself on TTS. And I'd... And I put down, like, you know, just another army, disassociate myself from wanting myself to succeed and go, all right, if I was against this tower opponent with Space Wolves, with Eldari, with whatever, how would I beat this? How would I punish what they're doing? And getting that experience without any of those other people can be massively valuable. Massively valuable. Look, Phoenix, I don't know what to tell you. If you thought there was a chance that I didn't play with myself, I don't know what to tell you. That's more on you than on me. Like, that doesn't make me the weirdo. That just is like a little bit of a, like, what? So, Joe, the stuff in reserve, at a minimum, is always the 2 units of broadsides. Now, quick adjustment for anybody who's worried about rush melee. If we do a very simple change. Lineups come back. I'm just going to move these guys so that I can get the other guys out. Actually, you know what? We'll go like this. Broadside comes back a little bit. Pathfinders, just like this. All the way around. Because remember, these guys are grav inhibitor drone. -2 to charge. Anything that wants to come in is only going to be able to touch low value units. And they can tag us afterwards. That's a consolidation move. That is not, however, their pile-in move, where they're still eligible to fight. We will happily give screens. We will not give high-value units. So stealth suits just come back a little bit and maybe hang down here with the Riptide, because we know they're coming for us anyway. Teehee. And all we do is just have like these boys down here, these boys down here, maybe like one guy down here, and spread out the Pathfinders a little bit more. Because remember, we can have 2-inch gaps between them. So if we really want to maximize it, we can. And our opponent can't charge through the Pathfinders. So you can be like that, you can be like that. Even though there's a gap, they can charge both units and land in between, but all we do is just be back enough that that's not an option. And as soon as they declare a charge against the Pathfinders, if they want to declare a charge against a guy at the back, fine, but there's still -2 to charge because the Pathfinders must be a target of that. And we just adjust with the screen in front of them, and yeah, we're having to give up a unit early. If we go first, we don't get punished. That's fine. If we don't go first, we don't lose high-value stuff that is going to kill these fast-rushing units. Any questions there? You might play with yourself a little bit. I mean, not a little bit. I play with myself all the time. I love playing with myself. It's one of the best ways to play 40K. Like, anybody who doesn't play with themselves really isn't enjoying the most out of life. And yeah, you can bring somebody else to play with you, but like that person might not know what they're doing. They might be inexperienced. They might not handle all of their models correctly. Like, you know, it just, you never know whether the partner you're getting in 40K is able to play with you the way that you could play with yourself, you know? And it's just, at the end of the day, it's extra experience. So then when you go and you play with someone else, you know what you're doing and you're not the inexperienced person, you know? Like, be very cognizant of how you're going to play with yourself and how other people will play with you and how you play with other people. Stealth suits also have grenade keyword now, so you can photon grenade strat just in case. Yeah, absolutely. If you're playing in Cohesion, you can -2 to charge people. And bear in mind, and I'm just going to double check so that I don't spread misinformation here, but I'm fairly certain photon grenades doesn't require line of sight. Let me just double check that. Tau Empire, because it has been a hot minute since I've played Cohesion, and everybody should have the reaction that if they don't know something for a 100% certainty, you look it up. Doesn't matter who's right, matters what's right. Opponent's charge phase, declare to charge. Grenades unit selected as target. Immediately take a battle shock, -2 to charge. Yeah, no line of sight. So photon grenades, you can set up these things like, and do the same thing with like your recon Pathfinders. -2 to charge. You can't use -2 to charge on top of the grav inhibitor. They got rid of that, so you can't -4 somebody. I would love that. That'd be fucking hilarious. And if that was the case, I'd just use Fast Stalkers for infiltrators, run 3 units of Pathfinders in Cohesion, and make my opponent's life just fucking miserable. Put grav inhibitors on every single one of them. But we can't stack those, so it's not a world we can live in. But yeah. All right. So I will again say, because we're probably going to have to wrap up our stream there. It's been an hour and a half. Again, I don't want the VOD to be too long. There will be more Grotmas videos that are coming out. Unfortunately, I spent time on this. I will do a separate Grotmas video for the Tide Wall list that I'm going to be doing. But if you've enjoyed this, if you've got something out of it, and you're in a position to consider using the PayPal link that's down in the YouTube description. Any donations are incredible. They are being used for Chelsea and I to live and not lose our home and all that sort of stuff. Nothing is expected, but everything that we get is just incredible. And also consider, if you want like long-term support, there's the Patreon, which gives you access to the Discord, all that sort of stuff. There's coaching packs on the website. I appreciate every single one of you, but oh, Dan, good morning. Why are you up so early, nerd? Well, I saw that somebody was featured on Auspex Tactics and just had to get a look at the man, the myth, the legend in my Discord, who had his Montcar list shown. It's yeah. Double Storm Triptide, yeah, baby. We were actually just sort of like talking about that a little bit earlier in the VOD. But yeah, Beal has posted a link. Thank you, Beal. Where you can get coaching. There's the PayPal link in the description, but that's enough plugging from me. You know, I love playing with myself and plugging, but yeah, I appreciate every single one of you. Autumn Effect, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate you, dude. I hope you're all enjoying your gaming. I hope you're all enjoying your Tau stuff. There will be more Grotmas videos coming. I can't wait to give you guys more and more of the stuff that I do to be a good Tau player and sometimes a good opponent. I don't know, whatever. Make sure you do the internet things. There's a hype feature on YouTube, liking and sharing, or don't. I'm not your dad. Last shout out to my patrons who make all my videos possible. You guys are incredible, especially my Join the Pantheon tier guys. I would be dead in a ditch if it wasn't for those guys. Actually, not exaggerating that much. It has been a pillar of stability for Chelsea and I. So yeah, that's it from me. I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay safe. Look after yourself. Love you all.